Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drahon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Concept Optimized. That's right, I decided to come up with a new name for this little bitty series, where I take a look at different multi-class combinations and min-max the bloody heck out of them. Optimized. Get it? Min-maxing, optimization, are both terms used to create a very powerful character, especially in the multi-class scene. I'm good at this. Anyway, we're talking today about the multi-class Barbarian and Rogue. There's not really a name for this multi-class that I have seen. Usually you have something cool like Soarlock or Hex Knight, but nothing for the Barbarian-Rogue. So I'm just calling it what the joke is: hidden anger, hidden rage, silent anger. I guess you can call it the quiet kid if you go by the memes. But anyway, the Barbarian-Rogue multi-class is a pretty interesting multi-class, as it utilizes the rage mechanic of the Barbarian and the reckless attack feature, pairing the reckless attack feature up with the Rogue's sneak attack. In addition, it uses the assassinate feature, which allows you to get a critical hit on any attack you make, so long as you have surprised your target with the brutal critical that can be found at later levels. This one is the 13th level, but there is one at 9th level, so just for some clarification there. I just grabbed the first one I could get a screenshot of. Anyway, this is usually what the multi-class entails, though more often than not, it's just the Barbarian using its reckless attack to improve the sneak attack of the Rogue. The Assassinate from the Assassin subclass is just an additional perk. There are a few things wrong with this subclass, and that is the sneak attack feature requires a finesse or a ranged weapon, while the Barbarian's rage requires a strength-based weapon. So you're very limited on what you can use. One weapon being the rapier, the other weapon being a sunblade. The sunblade, of course, being a longsword with the finesse property, but it only deals radiant damage. So, yeah, those are the two best weapons. You can use other weapons, but they're not going to be as good. Now, some people will probably ask, do thrown weapons count as ranged weapons? Because one of the other options that you can use are ranged weapons for the sneak attack feature, and there are some weapons that can be thrown and still use the strength modifier for your attacks. Unfortunately, according to Jeremy Crawford, the act of throwing a melee weapon doesn't transform it into a ranged weapon. Melee and ranged are categories of weapons in the rules. Similarly, whacking someone with a longbow doesn't transform it into a melee weapon. While that seems a bit weird, since you have a range when you throw something, I guess that makes sense, and we are trying to make sure we are sticking to the rules as written here. So, unfortunately, no throwing weapons. We are sticking with finesse. So, once again, rapier. So, and that means your Yokla is not going to be able to get used for this multi-class, unfortunately. What about natural weapons? Because there are some features that allow you to use your fists, or claws, or beaks, or teeth. This seems to be a bit of a grey area. According to Jeremy Crawford, a natural weapon, claw, horn, bite, etc., is not an unarmed strike. Continuing on, claws, bites, and the like are natural weapons, not to be confused with simple or martial weapons. Unless a rule says otherwise, natural weapons have no weapon properties, such as finesse, versatile, and thrown. An attack with a natural weapon is not an unarmed strike. An unarmed strike follows the unarmed strike rules in the player's handbook. No matter what type of creature is attacking, some exceptional natural weapons, such as tabaxi claws, can be used as unarmed strikes. So it all depends on the ruling of the weapon. But the natural weapon is not finesse, so it does not get the bonus from sneak attack, which is unfortunate. We can still use our strength modifier, but unfortunately not our dexterity unless it says otherwise. So, your foes are not going to be catching these hands. Alright, so once again we are looking at the goals for this build. We need to be able to match the sneak attack requirements for finesse, as well as the strength requirement for our rage. And we need the following for our goals: race, background, the barbarian levels and subclass, the rogue levels and subclass, as well as possible feats. To put it simply, for this build, we are working with ninja tactics. If you can't escape, hit hard, hit fast, and hit first. You also need to be able to tank. Take any hit, destroy anything. We are working with our strength mostly, but we also need to utilize the Barbarian's extremely awesome health and implement Constitution. Now, that's not to say we also don't need anything else. I would say that Dexterity needs to be one of your higher stats as well, and make sure your Wisdom is at the very least a 10. Your Intelligence and Charisma aren't too important for this build, so they can technically be your dump stats. Though I do recommend having a 10 for Intelligence and Charisma each, if at all possible. But to start off your build, make sure your strength is a 15. That way, whatever race you get will bump it up to a 17, with your first ability score improvement increasing it to a 19. And one of our feats will help you bump that up to a 20. But we'll get into the feats near the end of the video. Well, technically at the end of the video, since it's going to be the last thing we cover. Starting things off, we need our race. The best race that I can find for this is the gym Dragonborn. Now, it really doesn't matter what gym you pick, but Crystal and Topaz might be the best bet, as gym Dragonborn's elemental properties are Force, Thunder, Radiant, Psychic, and Necrotic. So, picking the right damage output is going to help you in the long run. You get a breath weapon feature, which, when you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of your attacks with this breath weapon, which is a 15-foot cone, and at 17th level will deal 4d10 damage of the type associated with your gem ancestry. Your Draconic Resistance gives you resistance to the damage type in your gem ancestry. You also get Psionic Mind, which allows you to speak telepathically with other creatures. You also get a very useful ability, Gem Flight. For 1 minute, you get a flying speed equal to your walking speed. which currently is only 30 feet, but that could increase as you level up in Barbarian or get certain feats and or spells. Now for our background. Normally, I would probably pick the Strixhaven student, which would be excellent for this Barbarian-Rogue class, because even just having the jump spell would greatly improve this build, as we would be able to get to a maximum of 20d6 fall damage rather quickly. And as for the rules of fall damage, if you fall on a creature, you cut that damage in half, and that damage is transferred to both parties, the one who fell and the one who was fallen on. So 20d6 cut in half is 10d6 each. One for you and one for your target, which could be really useful in the grand scheme of things. For your Urchin background, sleight of hand and stealth are pretty good skills, as well as the disguise kit and forgery kit. The feature, City Secrets, is the reason why we are actually going with it, as it's one of the more useful backgrounds. You'd be able to get to places faster, and if you're chasing somebody, technically, if you know the shortcut, you can surprise them by cutting them off. So, let's go ahead and move on to Barbarian. We need 10 levels in Barbarian because of our primal path, Path of the Beast. When we first start off, we get Form of the Beast. We're going to always use the claws. We generate a natural weapon, and for this pick, the claws, I'm going to quote, "Each of your hands transforms into a claw, which you can use as a natural, simple melee weapon if it's empty. It deals 1d6 slashing damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you attack with a claw using the attack action, you can make one additional claw attack as part of the same action." Holy cow, this gets dangerous once we hit level 5. Essentially, we would have 3 attacks. One with our rapier, one with our claw, and then a second claw attack immediately after that first claw attack. And that is not including any bonus actions we might get, which we will be getting a bonus action here shortly. You get Bestial Soul, which isn't too great. You do get a jump bonus by making an athletics check, so that's pretty good. We'll be able to get to that 20d6 damage from falling a lot faster. We also get Infectious Fury at 10th level. This is why I wanted 10 levels in Barbarian. When you hit a creature with your natural weapons while you are raging, the beast within you can curse your target with Rapid Fury. The target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw, DC of 8 plus your Constitution modifier plus your proficiency bonus, or suffer one of the following effects. The important one here is the second one. The target takes 2d12 psychic damage. Yes, the other option forces your target to attack a nearby creature as a reaction. However, this 2d12 psychic damage is a bit more important, because you could be attacking a weaker creature instead of a bigger one. So it's better to just do 12d6 extra damage. 2d12 extra damage, my bad. Moving on to Rogue. The only one that actually matters here is 10 levels in Rogue with the roguish archetype of Assassin. This will give us bonus proficiencies, as well as the Assassinate and Infiltration expertise. I already told you how good Assassinate is, as it gives us the extra damage from critical when we surprise a creature, our target. infiltration expertise actually helps us with surprising our targets. Alright, and with that, let's go ahead and move on to feat. We are going to need two very important feats here. Dual Wielder and Fighting Initiate, grabbing the fighting style to weapon fighting. This is going to be what helps us with our rapier, our most powerful finesse weapon. We'll be able to wield two of them, and we get all the bonuses necessary, as well as being able to sheath them or unsheath them very quickly, and at the same time, so that will help us with our attacks. Secondly, the feat, Piercer. This is the one that gives us another ability score improvement to 1 ability score, strength or dexterity. But its main feature is what I want to look at. When you score a critical hit that deals piercing damage to a creature, you can roll 1 additional damage die when determining the extra piercing damage the target takes. Holy cow, this is good. This is basically the brutal critical, but it only counts for our piercing damage, which is unfortunate, but it is still very useful as it will increase our rapier damage even further, even without the sneak attack, because sneak attack, remember, can only be used once per turn. Before I included the Piercer feat and the Dragon's Breath weapon, I had calculated an average of 157 damage just by using the class features. With the addition of Piercer, that increases the damage output by another 2d8 for each rapier, which is about 4.5 damage for each die, 9 damage for each rapier, total of 18. Secondly, the breath weapon is for the 10 at 17th level. That is an average of 22. With that 14, we have 37. Added to our 157 is 184 damage. That can kill an adult black dragon in 1 turn. And that does not include any bonuses that you can get from your allies. So keep that in mind. But with that being said, that is all I have for you today. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed. This has been Drahon, and I am offline.